All right, welcome back to Off the Tap. This week is episode 57, and we're doing Spindletap Brewery's Proper Pills.
Dude, there's so much. I know I've said this before, but there's so much anxiety when you're trying to deliver that initially.
There really is.
Spindletap Brewery's proper pills. I can hear the stress in your voice, like the nervous. There should be no reason for nervousness, but obviously, because third time seems to be the charm as of late on you getting it right. I understand why there's the reservation there, but I think you're just overthinking it a little bit.
Yeah, I overthink it, and then I get really, really caught up in the syllables. I really place the emphasis on each syllable.
Yeah, like, and make sure that our possessives are correct and that we're not throwing in some terminology that doesn't, like, it's Spindletap Brewery, possessive on the brewery,
Yeah.
proper pills. It's not a breweries. Anyways, two things I was gonna say. One, so you know how we always joke, which obviously I guess nobody sees this in the videos or can see it whenever we do it, but we do the loud into silent countdown to kick it off in 5, 4.
Yeah.
I was watching a video the other day on YouTube, and I don't remember what it was. Like, I think it was like some guys hiking or something, and he was like filming his wife, and she was like, "Well, I didn't know when to go because you didn't give me the silent countdown." And I was like, "Look, other people do it too."
Mm-hmm.
Um, but on the whole like distraction, like brain not functioning properly, and like being like obviously we're constantly bombarded with notifications that are coming through, whether we're on the computer, whether we're on our phone. But I have found, if you've noticed, I've gone back to a regular wristwatch, and
Mm-hmm.
here's why. Because nothing gets me off task or completely throws my brain like into fart mode than like the notifications on an Apple Watch. Like, I can be having a conversation with it's the worst thing and it's kind of rude, but like I could be having a conversation with somebody and like my watch will buzz and I will look down, and once I've looked down and connected with it, there is no continuing. I have no idea what happened. I have
Yeah.
no idea what was coming out of my mouth. I have no idea what my train of thought was. And so it's not conducive to constructive conversation. And so since going back to a regular watch, which has only been about a week and a half, but going back to a regular watch, I find myself not doing that as frequently, and it's very refreshing.
Oh yeah, dude. It throws the brain right off track every single
Yeah.
time. I'm
But
horrible with it on with my phone, man, because my phone is basically my watch because it just sits on my lap the whole day. And so
yeah.
anytime I get a notification and it lights up, I immediately stop what I'm doing because I see it in the corner of my eye and just boom, right down to my phone every time. And
And
you're right. I feel bad when I'm having a conversation with somebody. I'll see it light up and I just got to do this move.
yeah.
Just like look down at it, but like why? Why do I have to do that?
I don't know.
I've actually started a book to try to help myself with that
it blows me
distractiveness.
a- it blows me away that like how quickly and how effective it is at completely erasing what was on my mind. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know of another thing that could be that effective in just getting me completely off of what I was communicating. I don't think there is anything else like I can be watching TV and zone out, but like I'll still half-ass be able to carry on a conversation with somebody.
Hmm.
Looking at the notifications on a watch immediately just erases everything that's happening. I don't know how it's that effective, but it is.
It has to have something to do with like reading it, right? Because I can't read and do something at the same time. But I don't know.
So I get, yeah, I can't either. Like, all the time I'll be, obviously for work, I'll be like on the phone in my ears, but like looking at something online and like typing, and people that I'm talking to are like, what are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to read. And they're like, well, you can't read and do anything else at the same time. There's
Yeah.
also, speaking of books, I know we're way off topic, but I think this is important to say. There is like there is like effective data and studies that there is no such thing as multitasking. Like,
No.
we say that we
No.
multitask, but in reality, there's no, all you're doing is just shittily dividing your little bit of time amongst these little tasks, and
Yeah.
you're not ever doing two things at the same time. Like,
Yeah. Right. I read that somewhere as well. I don't remember
I mean,
where, but
maybe chewing and walking gum, which is, I mean, walking gum.
but like
Chew,
even
chew
now, even just trying to talk about multitasking, you can't do it.
I mean, in fact, it's so funny. Like chewing gum and walking might be the only thing, even though it's used as like a metaphor for like not being able to do things.
I
Like
don't
those
know,
are the
man,
only two
because
things.
how many times have you bitten your tongue while chewing gum?
Possibly if I'm trying to
Think about it.
walk, but it's kind of one of those. Who's Dimitri Martin with the stand up about people in glass houses shouldn't throw rocks, and it's like actually the only people that should be throwing rocks are people that are in glass houses. Or how about nobody throw rocks? Okay. That's the perfect, it's the same exact example. Like walking and chewing gum is really the only thing you can multitask, even though that's used as the number one disclaimer for multitasking. But I
Yeah.
digress. I'm glad we got that all out there. So,
Yeah, yeah.
Spindletap.
Yeah, Spindletap Brewery out of Houston, Texas. This is their proper pills, like we said, which is a Czech Pilsner, coming in at 5%. This is what they said
Uh,
online.
Close enough. 4.9 on the can. There's
Alrighty.
probably seasonal variability, but yeah, that's right.
Yeah, all right, so 5% and 20 IBUs. Uh, yeah, this is a brewery I haven't been to yet, and I do really want to go to because Spindletap, we've actually done one of their beers on the podcast before, back before you joined me on it. Oh God,
Yeah.
what a
But
head. Um, yeah, so we did Spindletap once before, and we did their Heavy Hands double IPA, which still to this day is my favorite IPA I've ever had.
ever like in the range of doubles or just IPAs in general? Because I mean, are you subdividing
Overall,
them?
overall
Okay.
in general IPA for me, and it's
Really?
it's rich, it's hoppy, and I don't know why I love it so much because I'm not a. I mean, I like IPAs, but I can't really drink a lot of them in one sitting. I can drink the entire six pack of this. I'll be gone,
Really?
but I can. Yeah, I don't know what it is about it. I just love it.
Well, so everybody, we've talked about this multiple times, but like everybody has their staple of what each type of beer is, right? When we think of a Bock, we think of Shiner, or I think of Shiner. When I think of cervezas, I think of, like a Corona or something like that. Whenever I think of Pilsners, I think of probably like a Carlsberg or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So on the IPA front, like Dogfish Head is
Yeah.
what I think of as the standard IPA. So how does it compare to that one? I know that's not the beer we're doing today. We're gonna get into proper pills, I promise.
Mm.
But how
Uh,
does it compare to that as the standard?
it's thicker. If I can if I can say it like that, it's a
Just
thicker beer.
thick.
Um, but flavor wise, I've only had like two Dogfish Head beers, I think, but both of those were good as well to me. I'd say pretty close, but I still like the Heavy Hands more
Well,
overall.
I'm gonna tell you first take. It's I know we mentioned it last week, and I swear it just happens to be two in a row, but I get a very uncooked bread smell to this one too.
Really? Are you sure your
Straight
senses aren't just going out and that's all you're smelling now?
straight out of the can, that's what I get. But it has a crafty uncooked bread. Beautiful color, light.
Oh, the head
Um,
dissipated nicely.
yeah, the head dissipated nicely. I did a pretty aggressive pour because I was trying to aerate a little bit. But
Aerate?
yeah, aerate. Yeah,
Aerate.
yeah, we might aerate,
Aerate?
aerate.
Mm.
My English is not all that good. Okay,
Yeah.
how are you at on it? So okay, so sorry, back to it. It's a 4.9/5, and it's a Czech Pilsner.
Yeah. So this should be right up your alley. You said have you had this one before?
I think I have. Um, Although I don't remember.
Much of it?
I don't. Yeah, I don't really remember it. If so, um, man, so it's pretty good. It's got it's got some craftiness to it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, not sure if it's just the first sip, but it's got a lot of canniness to it. Are you getting the canniness?
I kind of am. I'm not getting so much skunkiness from it myself.
Yeah, it definitely is sweeter and less skunky than, maybe some European pilsners. But
Like when people
yeah,
taste
I
wine,
like it nonetheless.
when people taste wine and they're like they like swish it around in their mouth and stuff to taste it.
Yeah.
I don't do that as a beer drinker. Should
Uh
I be doing that? I feel like I shouldn't.
I don't know, because beer foams,
Yeah,
and so I don't know if swishing it around gives it a proper application to the taste buds.
the
You know,
tip of the tongue.
we already talked about it.
Yeah,
Um, the other thing that's funny is, it's like, how like in a lot of different industries, this is way aside, this is a side note and a tangent, but dude, foam might as well be like a profanity in the beer making world because it causes so many problems within their system. Like whenever they're cleaning their tanks, whenever they're transferring tanks, foam might as well be the F word of brewing.
because
They're like,
it's like a
son of a.
hassle.
Yeah, just because it makes it difficult to clean, it makes it difficult to bottle, it makes it, foam is the enemy kind of when it comes to like large scale brewing. I'm not sure about like craft brews, but yeah, they're like fucking foam. Damn it,
Ah,
because
it's
it's just such a pain in the ass. Like pumps cavitate, like it's just a misery on the operations of it. But and so they kind of use it like the F word. They're like, oh gosh, we don't want the F word in here. And I'm like, I mean, we're all grown men here. It's fine to drop an F bomb every now and then. And they're like, no,
yeah,
FOAM. And I'm
yeah.
like, foam? I hope I spelled that correctly. I'm gonna look like quite an idiot if I didn't. But
Oh,
anyway,
it's FOME, obviously.
foamy. I
Home,
also
home,
said
home.
I also said roined until I was 18 years old, and it's Ruin. But anyway,
Wait, did you really?
yes, I said
Oh my
roined
god.
my whole life. It's roined.
I went to school with a girl that pronounced iron, earn.
Earn,
She just took the O right out. There was just no O in that word, dude. Oh
dude.
man.
There's man, I can't remember, but and actually, this is a good point because Spindletap is located between the two inner city loops, right between 610 and Beltway 8. We just discovered that,
Mm.
but the signage on the outer loop on 99, it's I can't remember. I have to look it up, but me and Katie, it's like arrive alive. It's like arrive alive, don't drive aggressive. Okay, that's what it says. Arrive alive, don't drive aggressive. And so what her and I kept saying today was arrive alive, don't drive aggressive. Because that's kind of how you have to say it for it to rhyme. And I was like,
Okay. The
you know
first,
that's what that intern did. That it's an
yeah.
intern. They got filling the sign out. Drive alive. No, arrive alive. Don't drive aggressive.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's somebody that just got that job or something, and they were like, "Oh yeah, this all," because why not, right? English.
Dude, how do you? Okay, first off, very small market. I can't imagine there's a lot of people that play in that space. Secondly, like, how do you put that on a resume?
Hmm.
What did you used to do? Safety signage for freeways that require tolls.
Safety
What's some
signage for I-99 in Houston.
Yeah, what's some of your killer phrases? Oh my Lord, you were the arrive alive, don't drive aggressive guy? Holy shnikes. We're sitting on a gold mine here. Name your price, sir, and now you work for us.
Yeah. I was thinking the exact opposite. I was thinking, next interviewee, please. You went with, oh, that's incredibly creative. We're hiring you.
But you could do the opposite too. Arrive alive, don't drive aggressive, you know?
That
Okay,
one
here's
that
the
one
other.
that one threw my brain for a loop. I'm not gonna lie.
I had to think through it as it was coming out. But here's the thing too, like they're giving, everybody always jokes about Texans, right? But they're giving Texans a lot of credits. The fact that we understand what aggressive looks like on a billboard that's lit up as you're going 99 miles an hour past it. Anyways, I don't know
Yeah.
how many people are reading these things, but anyways, that was a fun fact. So,
Yeah.
what are your first interpret? Yeah, okay. So real quick, so it's in between. It's in that little slice of northeast Houston between Beltway. It's like dead center, halfway between Beltway and 610. So not in the downtown area. That would be like inner loop 610. But
Mm.
not quite outside the Beltway, which I would consider to be the burbs. So it's kind of in the heart of downtown. It's like where um Hirsch meets Little Yorkish, kind of over there by my favorite HEB. We talked about this, the
Hmm.
Meet the End Up. Um, Yeah, killer in-house marinated fajita meats. Dude, that HEB is on point. But anyway,
Oh, I thought
this
you were
app,
talking about the brewery. I was like, whoa, hold on, what?
I don't
And
even know if they have food. I don't know enough about them,
I don't
but
know. I've
yeah,
never been. I want to go.
I,
It seems like a
I
cool
would
spot.
I would imagine if it's right there in that like Mount Houston, a lot of Latin heritage in that particular area. So I imagine if they've got food, it's got to be like bringing it hard. Otherwise, it just wouldn't survive in that little area because they got some food over there.
Yeah, down in
Yeah,
Little Mexico in Houston.
pretty much. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of pockets of Mexico in Houston, but I've had some pretty killer food out of this particular area. It's got its ups and downs. There's some areas, BYOG kind of territory, but the food's worth it if you want to venture over that way.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever eaten out there either. Honestly, I've never really ventured out to that part of Houston very much.
It,
Handful
it's
of
kind of a
times.
it's kind of a pass through, honestly. That kind of little section, in my opinion, like unless you live over there, like in the Aldine area, like it's kind of a pass through. You're not really, unless you live there, you're not really stopping between that stretch of Beltway 8 and 610 on 59 coming into the city, in my opinion. I mean, obviously there's things over there, Spindletap being an example, I guess. I'm shooting myself in the foot, but yeah, there's not like a whole lot I remember aside from residential areas and like food trucks and random dives.
Yeah.
So
We're just out here listing all these loops that surround Houston, and like I've been to a couple other cities, right? Like big cities, like well, not like Los Angeles or anything, but I've been to like San Diego and like Dallas and stuff like that. I've been around Miami. I've driven through there and stuff. I don't think there's ever been a situation of roads that have there's just like so many loops around Houston, and I'm
yeah,
like it's like they put one up and they were like this is going to help traffic. And
yeah.
then it didn't and they were like I know how to fix it. Add another one. And so they did and then they were like, well, that didn't work, but you know what might? One more.
One more.
And
That's right.
now and then they made that one toll. So, I mean, people take it and everything, but it's still starting to get a little heavy and now they're like, "Hey, guys, we're on to something.
Yeah.
Fourth time's the charm. We're
It's
building
so.
another."
In fact, I don't think people. I mean, obviously, there's a ton of traffic on 610 and the Beltway and 99 now. They're not 99's nearly not. So, just for everyone that's listening that's not from this particular area, for no reason at all, 610 is the one right around the city. Then Beltway 8 encompasses that one. And then it looks like a target system, all bullshit aside. And then
Yes.
99 is outside of that.
Whenever
Um,
people are flying over at some point in the future to bomb Houston, they have a target, a literal
exactly.
target to drop stuff on.
I mean, there's a ridiculous volume of traffic on all of them. Okay, I would say mainly 610 and Beltway 8, probably more than anything. Um, which, by the way, Beltway 8 is also the Sam Houston tollway, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
Like they just call it. Well, you're heading one direction, you're on the Beltway, but you're heading on the same exact road. You're heading the other direction. It's the Sam Houston tollway, just for funsies. Okay. Anyways, all that being said, I also love how they trap you into like sections that are free. And
Yeah.
dude, what the crazy thing about that is this is the shittiest part of it. People are so cheap in the city, okay, that that little stretch that's free will be just a fucking madhouse, dude. It looks like the freaking what's that thing over there in Germany? The freaking
The
autobahn. It looks like
Autobahn,
the
yeah.
autobahn right
Boom,
there. And then
boom.
and then when it gets to the parts that are paid, the feeders are stacked with people.
Yeah.
Like just because they all got off because
Backed
they don't want
up.
to pay the 57 cents or whatever to go
Yeah.
through the next gantry. Um, but I think they're used more, like a lot of traffic, but I think they're used more now just as directives. Like I just said, Spindletap's halfway between Beltway 8 and 610 on 59. Anybody who's familiar with the city is going to be like, I know exactly where that's at. Or
Hmm.
you give somebody like, oh, where's it at? And you're like, oh, it's just on this side of 610. And they're like, oh, so it's like 10 minutes from downtown then. And you're like, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's used more as like a target, kind of, or a guidance. What is that? The west side of Beltway 8? Oh, you must be heading out towards Cypress then. Right?
Hmm.
Like that's how you know.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's used more
Absolutely.
as directive for that. But anywho,
Yeah. And I mean, the streets in Houston in general aren't great, but I will say the streets in Dallas are worse from my few times driving through there. Construction wise, and like potholes and whatnot. I mean, I was on the freeway driving through Dallas one time, and there was just potholes all the way across the freeway, and I was like, this seems
What?
incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, it reminds me of those Louisiana roads, or like up and way
Ooh,
north, like Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, where the elements destroy their roads. So there's just nothing. Chicago, good lord. So the other thing,
Chicago.
Chicago, got him. You're out. Get out. But so the thing about Chicago, somebody told me this, a native of Chicago, which does, he was saying that he loves the quality of road in Dallas, and which I was like, holy shit, why would you say that? But it's because
Oh,
here's the thing: if you look at Houston and you look at and pretty much primarily all big cities in Texas, when they bid out a construction project, they bid it out in a way where like somebody gets the primary, like they get the whole project, so it's under the control of one particular entity. Now they'll mix it up, right? They'll have one company work on it for 15 freaking years, and then they'll award the bid to somebody else because they never finish. But in Chicago, he's like, dude, they have these like political laws where like they can only award so much to each person, so you might have like 3 miles of road that they're working on, but there's 17 contractors that are in there
oh
working
my
on like a quarter
God.
inch section. So it just all goes to crap, and they're like fighting with each other. um but yeah,
That's
so
horrible.
the other thing, so Houston is known for its loops. I know there's loops around, Austin. There's loops, semi loops around Dallas, but Houston's known for its loops. But Dallas is famous for that mix master area. You know what I'm talking about? The mix master,
No, I do not.
dude. It's like six. I think it's now six. It might be more, but it's six freeway interchanges that are stacked. So there's, yeah, so imagine there's like one road, and then there's like a bridge over that, that's two, then there's a bridge over that, that's three, there's a bridge over that, that's four, there's a bridge over that, that's five, there's a bridge over that, that's six. And because they all come into that like 75 interchange when you're headed north of the city, if you're driving straight through, it's called the Mix Master. And so they always use that like on the radio when you're commuting to work in the morning. They're like, oh, we've got a 45-minute delay on the second stack of 75 coming into the Mix Master. And you just look at, like, they show you the aerial footage, and you're just like, who in their right mind thought this was a good idea? It's probably the same guy that decided to put 15 loops around fucking
Right.
downtown Houston.
Yeah,
I don't know who's still
absolutely.
employing these people, but they definitely need to get the guy that's making the signs on 99 and
Yeah.
get his opinion.
Yeah, they do. Because he would be very aggressive about it, you know?
Yeah, if you guys want to get aggressive, let's divvy right into it.
That's drivy right into it. Oh man. So another thing with this branding, obviously they're the Spindletap, right? But their logo is like an old oil rig, and it looks very similar to the old Houston Oilers logo to me.
Are you saying like it looks like you're saying like it's a derrick? That's what you're referring to.
Is that
An
what they were
oil derrick.
called
Yeah, it's a
back in the day?
derrick.
So then why is it a spindle? I thought that that was like a spindle tap or
So a
something.
spindle No, a spindle tap is, spindle tap might have been a famous one. We should know this. Why do we always get to this predicament where we're trying to like guide them in what we think and we have no
I think
freaking
spindle
clue?
tap was a famous one.
Yeah, I think it
I
was.
think you're right.
It was like a famous derrick that I don't know if it was free flowing, because back in the day that was like just a gift from God, was like not having to pump it from the ground. And they wouldn't pump,
Yeah.
a free flowing well that, it wasn't putting out a ton of barrels, but like you weren't having to do anything. It was just fucking gold flowing from the earth. I mean,
Yeah.
relatively black gold, but yeah. So I think it's what Spindletap, I think, was a famous oil derrick.
I think you're right. That's why
Yeah.
that's why always thought that that's what it was called, cuz that's what we or that's where I read about it or how I heard about it. But yeah, it looks like an old oil rig, and it reminds me of the Houston Oilers logo, and I'm just like, man, god, I miss
Oh,
them, you know?
boom! Here it is. You ready for this? Spindletap is an oil field located in the southern portion of Beaumont, Texas, in the United States. The Spindletop Dome was derived from the Luan salt evaporative layer of the Jurassic geological period. On January 10th, 1901, a well at Spindletop struck oil. The Spindletop Gusher blew for 9 days at a rate estimated of 100,000 barrels per day.
Jesus Christ. So it's Spindle Top. That's what it was.
Spindletop. Yeah, but they're
Yeah.
they're obviously making a play on this.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. So very creative, but also it's
God.
it's it's crazy, dude, because in 1901 that would have been basically the first um major gusher of the Texas oil boom. Because
I
I don't,
think
did
it
we talk about this?
was.
Yeah, it had to have been. Because that's what, spurred Sour Lake and all of that stuff to be developed. And, obviously that's when people started building monopoly oil companies. But yeah, so it was a free flowing Spindletop oil well that is historical for setting off the Texas oil boom. So congrats, Spindletap. But yeah, so it does have that like structure, but it's got a tap on it because obviously they're play, and it's instead of
Right.
oil coming out of it, it's just hoppy goodness.
Yeah. It is kind of a little sad that they're not based out of Beaumont with that though. That would be
You know,
awesome. But
they
I mean,
originally could have been.
yeah, could have been. But I mean, Houston probably has a little bit of a larger audience, so makes more sense here
Um,
for a brewery at least.
ho- Holy cow, man, dude! It changed the world. Honestly, get this. Again, I hate to keep going down just like reading off Wiki here, but so Gulf Oil and Texaco were established just to deal with the production of Spindletop. Because we were just it's so readily available now that we needed companies to manage it. Obviously, they became part of Chevron. Um, the big three, I think Chevron's one, Shell, and BP are like the still big three of consolidation. But it led the United States into the oil age. So prior to this, it was primarily only used for oil was only used for lighting and for lubricants. But because of the quantity that was discovered, they were like, well, I guess we'll have to burn it now. And
Yeah.
that's what they did. Also, did we talk about this last time? I can't remember, but dude, you know what they were using before oil?
No.
Whale oil.
Oh
So
yeah,
think of
it was like it was whale rubber and stuff, right? They were getting
yeah, well
yeah.
blubber, and they were like rendering it. Can you imagine just like being like, damn, we're gonna have to go slaughter a whole herd. I don't know what they're called, but slaughter a whole herd of whales so that we can light our candles this evening. You
Oh
know?
God, yeah. I didn't realize that they were doing that here in America though. I knew that was like a Japanese thing.
No, they had to.
I'm pretty sure that a lot of, or not a lot, but I'm pretty sure that people like in Japan or like that part of the world still use whale oil for some stuff.
Oh, I'm sure, but I mean, us fat, dumb, happy Americans, which I guess in a good way, this is great. But we were like, nah, we're just pumping dinosaurs from the ground. We don't need whales anymore. You guys heard of that old gusher over there in Beaumont, Texas? They're, we're pretty much just burning it because we don't have anywhere to put it. You guys want some oil to burn?
We pretty much just set fire to it at this point because there's no point in even bottling it up anymore. We got too much.
Can you imagine what that would have been like? Like, just like I mean, obviously they were searching for it, but like, can you imagine when it just starts coming out of the ground and you're like, oh, this is awesome. And then it gets to 100,000 barrels a day, and you're like, what are we gonna do with all of this?
Yeah.
It's almost like a mistake that was so fruitful that you started getting scared. You're like, where are we gonna put it all? Like, we need to keep it in the ground. Like, we don't have
Yeah.
anywhere to put this.
Yeah, they went in and they drilled for it and they were like, "Oh hell yeah, this is gonna be a good reserve. We gonna get this." And they popped it open. They were like, "Oh hell yeah, I told you, Cameron. I freaking told you, bro." And then they were sitting there for like 20 minutes, and he goes, "Oh shit, I didn't realize."
Yeah.
Um,
Dude was smoking a cigarette. He was like, "Man, I'm gonna write them a letter. They're gonna love this." And then a day went by, and he was like, "Starting to get a little stressed out. I'm gonna have to write them another letter and let them know that the entire town is now covered in black sticky
yeah,
oil."
because there's no way you prepared for that, and especially in that time. Like,
They probably
where
didn't
was
think
it
it out.
going?
They were probably pissing in the wind. They were just like, "Yeah, we'll poke some holes over here, see what's going on."
Yeah.
And then, boom, and they were like, "Oh shit, this is. Oh, wait a second. Wait
I
a second."
I gotta. I mean, look at what happened to BP when that thing burst in the Gulf in like what 2013 or whatever it was, 2012.
Tony, 2009 or 10,
Okay,
2010, I
yeah.
think.
So when that thing busted, I mean, this is 2000. We've already got pipelines running through the freaking water and shit. These things
Yeah.
busted, and they were like, "Oh fuck."
Yeah. So
Uh,
can you imagine a bunch of rednecks out in the field with some shovels just being like, phew,
they were like,
dam it off,
"Yeah,
I
we
guess.
struck gold," and then they were like, "Oh, whoa, dude, mamma mia."
Dude, we're not giving them enough credit. They probably knew that it was there and there was a reason they were drilling for it, and they were probably a lot more prepared. But I
They
can
weren't
just see them
prepared
like
for 100,000 gallons a day, though, dude. There's
100,000 barrels, okay, not
Yeah,
gallons.
barrels, not gallons. Sorry, a
So
hundred
can you,
thousand barrels. But could you imagine? Think about that, right? Like barrels, yeah. But could you imagine filling 100,000 gallons of milk bottles up with oil every day? Now imagine 100,000. Where do you even store that?
so I don't know, but here's the thing, that, like
It's
obviously in tanks,
1901. We didn't have semi trucks, bro.
no, we didn't have tank. Dude, we didn't have semi truck. We didn't even have gasoline. That's
That's
the
what,
thing.
that's what I'm
So
saying. Like we didn't have anything. They were lugging all that back with horses, bro. Like where?
just letting them drink it in the field. Can you imagine the aerial photographs? Everything's just dead for a freaking 100 square mile radius.
Oh
But
my
here's the
god.
thing. Can you imagine them? It's not like they could call people on the phone. Can you imagine them writing a letter for their friends over in Louisiana? Hey, you guys got any extra barrels over there?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? Um, but dude,
Uh,
here's the other trippy part. Imagine this. It's like day three, okay? And there's just 100,000 barrels that are just religiously rolling out of this thing, and you're like, it's got to stop sometime. And then you get to day seven, and you're like, guys, it's not stopping for 9 straight days. It's just giving them the fruits
dude,
of the earth.
when they woke up on the 10th day, I bet they walked out and they went, "Ah, ah,
Thank God.
thank God, it's only barely oozing out now." Because it
Oh
didn't just
man.
stop. It had to have just
Yeah.
like slowed down. You know what I mean? Oh my God, that would have been absolutely terrifying. That's almost like cavemen discovering fire. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it is.
They were like, I mean, they were like messing around. They were freaking knocking rocks together, and then poof, it caught on fire, and they were like, "Oh
Oh.
no, what is this? What is
No,
going on?"
actually, I think it was lightning. I saw, I don't know when man discovered fire, but I think it was lightning. And then can you imagine just like wanting to keep that going? Dude, think about that. That became the focus and probably lifelong endeavor of one particular individual. He was just like, I was gifted this fire. I have to keep it going. And his whole life was just dedicated to it.
Oh, dude, that was our neighbor's grandfather.
Yeah.
That's a dude. Bro, I would wake up in the morning to go to school at like
Oh yeah.
6:30, 7 o'clock. I'm sitting out on the bus stop, and he's just out there smoking his cigarette, walking around, grabbing twigs, lights a fire. I get off the bus at 3:30 in the afternoon, 4 o'clock, and he's just still
Burn.
babying the fire up there. I'm like, this man was put on Earth to do one thing, and it was to keep that fire going. That's what it was
Dude,
to do.
there's something so refreshing about it. Like I said, we went camping this weekend, and even though it was warm, and by the way, it was like not as warm as I thought. It got to like 90 something degrees, which usually means miserable for camping, but we're in a great little shaded area. It was kind of on this little peninsula where like the water was on one side, so we would catch some of the cool coming off of the lake, but it was like, very forested and light. But dude, there's just something, even in that 90 degrees, like at noon, I would build a fire and cook, whatever we were eating. And dude, it's just, there's something about fire, man. I'm gonna say that's more rewarding probably than the fellas that stumbled upon the world's first fruitful oil well, but a very similar feeling, I'm sure. It's like thrilling and it's great, but it's also just a little nerve-wracking too
Hmm.
because you got to manage it, you got to build it or whatever. I don't know, dude. There's just something about it that I love. Obviously, it's better when it's cold, but um, it's a connection with the earth, man. You know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Camping's great. I want to put into question the fact that, and I'm not saying that that cavemen started the fire or
Yeah.
anything. I'm just saying I want to put into question the fact that we know it was from lightning. We don't know that.
We don't know that. I don't know
People
that.
just assume that it was lightning. Is
Yeah,
that
I
what it
would,
was?
because I mean, I guess, but like, I just don't feel like we would have made it all that way to that point. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm pretty sure that like a lot of people would have died before lightning just randomly gifted us fire. Like, think about this. It would have to be a grown ass man that saw lightning create fire to be like, oh, I know how to recreate that. That means that he must have lived for a very long time in elements that probably would have killed him without fire. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I'm just like
it's a
it to me it seems a lot more logical that there was a dude that was maybe just uh smashing rocks together cuz he was bored, you know what I mean? And then
yeah.
he started making sparks and he was like, "Oh, this is fun." And then he was next to some leaves and it caught on fire and he just went, "Oh god. Why did this hurt me?" You know what I mean? That's what I
I,
think, but it's
dude, we're
whatever.
just and cooking food too. Like I just assume everybody ate their meals raw, and then one day they were like, I don't know, we got this fire. I'll just put it in there, see how it goes.
Yeah.
And then immediately he was like, you know what would really set this off? Some fresh ghee and a little piece of rosemary.
Yeah.
That would change the game on this rough ass, oily ass lion hind leg that I'm eating. Like
Yeah. A little bit of green onion sprinkled on top. That would be real killer.
little
Super
brown
awesome.
sugar. I'll flambe the top of it.
A little bit of those one things that we usually eat to get super high? Let's cook some of those and throw it on that steak.
Are you referring to mushrooms? I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, mushrooms and then onion. Oh, you know those things that make us cry whenever we eat them?
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
let's try sautéing those. What is sauté? I got you. I'm gonna make it up.
Yeah, sure, dude. Just the whole trial and error that went into that. I'm thankful that people
Yeah.
trial and error for us, but it was touch and go for a second. Can you imagine? Like, think about if there were gravestones back then. They could have just been like, uh, ate wrong berry,
Yeah.
whatever. He's just fucking. That was his. That was
Yeah.
his claim to fame. He
Just
tried it.
he tried it for all of us. And then also
Yeah.
like you think about that, right? Like there had to have been whole communities that just they like would go out to gather and just bring home berries and they're like, "Oh my god, guys, we have a lot of food." And it wasn't just like one dude that was trying it. I bet it happened one time where they all
Yeah.
a bunch of them ate it and all of them died and the like five that woke up were like maybe
Yeah.
only
Not chancing
maybe
it.
only maybe only one of us should eat this next time to see uh
Actually, what probably went down was, yeah, five of them, or there were five left that didn't die. One of them didn't die. One of them woke up and he was like, "Man, this is real shady. Where's Clarence at? Let's give him one, see how this works." And they just,
yeah.
before their buddies knew that, hey, the
Yeah.
other people died, he was like, "Hey, eat this berry again." He's like, "Why are you putting these berries on me?" He's like, "Dude, just trust me." And
They're
then he
delicious.
died. And then he died, and they were like, "Yeah, it's definitely the berries. It's definitely the
Yeah.
berries."
Yeah. That's 100% how it went. And then they, went along about building up their community again.
Dude, I also, so again, I know that I'm back to the Spindletop thing. Were they just damming it up? I don't understand where they were putting it. Was it just like a big lake of oil?
I'm telling you, bro, there was no way that they had what you said 100,000 barrels for 9 days. So they
Yes,
needed
that's
a
they need a
million barrels.
barrels.
A million barrels in a 9 day span. There's just no way that all of it got captured.
I mean, here's the thing too, and I mean, by the pictures, people have pictures of this, and it's not just eking out of the ground.
Oh no, it's
It,
spewing.
it's shooting like 80 feet in the air.
Yeah. So how are you even collecting it?
You're, I mean, by the looks of it, these people were just walking around and raining oil for 9 days.
Just like you just set a barrel around the deal and just hope that it sprinkles in there.
It's also so crazy that just dude, people like, can you imagine when they're like, you guys want to see some shit? And then they just rode their horses over there. I was gonna say they drove over there, but
Yeah.
obviously that was them. But they just rode their horses over there, and they're like, "Look at that bastard! Look at how beautiful that is. Fucker's just raining oil out here."
Yeah. You know, you know what happened, and they were like, well, they're out there scratching their heads. They're like, ugh, where's the closest bar?
Dude,
You
also
know?
though, we gotta think about this. Like the EPA, none of that existed. So it's not like they had concerns. Like now
No.
we would freak out because we're like, oh shit, we released this cat size oil into the freaking water and
Damn,
it's gonna kill a
my
bunch of
my
fish.
Tide Pod busted outside.
Yeah. Back then they were just like, isn't this wonderful? Just fucking
Ooh,
oil in the earth,
it
baby.
feels so good on the skin. This is probably great for me.
Yeah, it's not like OSHA came by and was like, you guys are getting some citations for this. They were
Yeah.
just like, oh, a couple of guys died this morning? Who gives a shit? 100,000 barrels a day, baby.
We're
100,000 barrels a day.
we're showering in this tonight, bro. We don't care. Oh
Fuck
man.
it.
You know that's what they went to the nearest town because there's no I mean there's no way there was a town right there. Right like well right
Probably not.
there. They went to the nearest town and they were like, "Bro, y'all ain't going to believe this." Okay. I need you to follow me back out to here and they're like, "It can't be that big. It's like a 1 day horse ride back." And they just gallop up and they're like, "Holy crap, it's raining." And he's like, "Nah, bro. That ain't rain.
That's all.
That's oil."
Oh,
Cuz
but
you know
here's
what?
the
No, you
thing.
know it wasn't oil. It was oil.
Sad story here, though. Um, so it began to rapidly decline in production in 1902. So very fruitful at first, but then by 1902 it was only averaging 10,000 barrels per day.
Oh wow, that's so low. But you know they struck that for the 9 days and they were like, "Oh my God, let's build a city around here." And they start bringing everybody out and building houses and stuff, and then it rapidly declined. And they were like, "Well,
Dude, so that's kind of what happened. The developers had signed a 20-year contract to sell 25,000 barrels per day to the Shell Oil Company, which obviously they had to default on when
yeah."
production went below.
You said
So
for 25 years,
they had a 20-year contract
a
to
20
sell
year.
25,000 barrels a day.
Okay, well that's just a complete oversight on their part. There's just no
Yeah.
way.
Well, I mean, and who, I mean, obviously they might have known what was in the ground. I think we're not giving them as much credit as we should. They probably
They
knew
were
what was
like,
there.
"Woohoo! This is gonna go on for yeah, we
I
struck
mean,
gold."
it's already lasted 8 days, bro. What's another 20 years, you know? But
There's
anyway,
no way this will run out in 2 decades.
I just love also that's like capitalist human nature as well. They were just like, dude, it's been spewing for 8 days. Hell yeah, we'll sign up for 20 years. Let's establish an oil company, figure out how to sell it and at what rate for the next 20 years. And oh, by the way, we're doing that all in a span of 8 days while it's just fucking pouring from the ground.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah,
Oh,
it stopped in 1936. So,
hey, it had a good run though.
dude,
35
also
years.
it was the revolution. It also taught them like, dude, there by the way, so here's the homework for this week. Is just go check it out because they started getting into like thick sludge very shallow and they were just like, no, power through, bud. And then they got into like some real nasty salty stuff and they were like, power through. And then that's when it hit. So this is, they had this thought out more than we would think, but it'd be awesome, man. This is actually would be pretty cool. They've got a little Boomtown museum that's there. They've got a replica Spindletop that gushes water, obviously because of OSHA and EPA regulations
Yeah,
now.
that's
Um,
kind of lame. Do they at least dye the water black? They should do that if they don't.
I don't know, but dude, it has a flag now where the original Spindletop sat. There's a flagpole that flies the Texas flag.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
the most Texas thing of all time. Why put a replica spindle tap or spindle top on there when we can just fly the state flag, baby?
that's right, baby.
That's how we do it down here, and everything's bigger in Texas, especially our flags
And our free flowing oil wells.
and our 50-foot oil fountains.
Yeah, dude, it's the equivalent of like, you know how everybody's dream is what's that? And he actually put it into that movie, freaking Mr. Deeds, when he's got that water fountain that's got Hawaiian Punch in it.
Oh yeah,
You know what I'm talking about?
yeah.
This was the equivalent of that, but back in the 1900s. It was like, oh,
Uh,
which honestly, probably would have been just as surprising to have a water fountain too. Like,
what is this? An
it's
endless supply of hydration.
just water. They're like, you don't have to go out and get it. They're like, nah, just push this button, bud. And then they drink it and they're like, holy shit, it's cold too? Yeah, refrigerated.
Water fountains were actually like it was like the most gross thing to me in school, but like also the best thing.
Oh yeah. But you know what? Okay. I
And
think about,
you want to know why? Just let me explain myself real quick. It's because you had the kids that you saw just mouth that thing, dude.
yeah,
Like a
who's
snorkel,
mouthing it?
bro. Just snorkel that bitch. I'm like, bro, it shoots up. Like it's gonna get to
Yeah.
your mouth. That's the whole point. Yeah, but I can't miss a drop, dude. Like, bro, what?
Dude,
Come
here's the other
on.
thing. This is what weirded me out about them. Like, okay, you know how like it's weird when you go to the can and like the a public can and the toilet seat's warm, you know? You're just
Yeah.
like, oh, somebody's been here and it's very weird. Like it's not
Yeah.
weird, but it's weird, right? You get that uncomfortable little bit of.
Hmm.
So I get the same feeling from a water fountain if you start it and you drink and it's warm because somebody had just
Somebody's
already
been
drank all the
ripping
cold
it.
supply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody's been
Which
ripping
means
it.
I have shared from this trough too soon after another. That's
Which I
kind of my
guess,
thought
so
process.
because my next point was going to be like, right when you're out at like field day in elementary school and everybody's out running around sweating, getting all hot, and they're like, all right, water break. And so everyone lines up at the water fountain, the one water fountain that's outside. And they're like, you get 5 seconds. You get a 5 second rip, and then the next person goes, I was always like, bro, I've been running around the whole time. I need more than 5 seconds, bro. That's like four or
Yeah.
five sips. But you just pretty much proved their point because at a certain point that water warms up, bro, and not everybody gets that nice ice cold. But hey, also my point is get to the water fountain earlier, you know?
Dude, so it's also weird because it comes in phases. Like it depends on what's going on. Like if I'm walking around in school and I've got to hit a rip off of one, or like you said, field day, like that would weird me out. But dude, I remember like middle school football, we just had like a 20-foot piece of PVC with like 100 holes drilled in it, and they
Yeah.
would just they would just unkink a water hose and let it rip, and you would just get down on your knees and let one of the little holes beat you in the
Yeah.
face, you know?
Yeah.
Like that was shit. And I don't remember feeling that weird, and it tasted like PVC pipe and sand because it was just a hose. But like, I remember that being 100% delicious all the fucking time.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
I was talking with somebody last weekend about the fact that just like, everybody now is so paranoid about letting their kids like eat dirt off of stuff and whatnot. Sorry, these burps are hitting pretty hard right now.
yeah, they're pretty,
Um,
they're hard.
um, and we were talking about how like when we're growing up, you're outside playing and whatnot. Like we weren't going back inside to get a bottle of water because as soon as you go inside, mom's saying, "No, if you come in, you're taking a shower because you're gross and you're staying inside. So you can either stay outside or you can come inside for the rest of the day." And you're like, bro, what? So you go over to the water hose, right? And you turn that bad boy on. And there's nothing more refreshing than turning it on, not letting it run at all, and just hitting that nice, hot, steamy chemical hose
Yeah,
water straight to
yeah,
the face, bro. Just straight to the face. And all you're thinking the entire time is, oh my God, this is delicious. And my lips are burnt from this metal on the end of the
yeah.
hose. But
It just,
hey,
it just
who's getting sick now, bro? Not me.
it just tasted like you took a bite of a microwave plastic plate. That's what
Yeah.
it every time,
Yeah.
dude.
Every single time.
Yeah, and like obviously no one was keeping up with the edge of the hose, so there would be a lot of sand and like the little threads, little metal
Yeah.
threads.
Oh yeah,
So
because
you'd
it was
catch
just
those.
sitting in the dirt around the, looped up.
You'd hit your teeth with the metal too, a lot of times.
Probably chip it a couple times if you weren't careful.
Because I'm not a, speaking of, I think it's only appropriate. Like when I drink from a water fountain, I let the stream come to me like a normal fucking human being.
Oh
Okay,
yeah, I'm not
not a
snorkeling that
snorkeler.
either,
Yeah.
bro.
But with a water hose, if you can get it dialed in where it's not so stout, then it's okay to touch the metal. It's your fucking hose. It's okay to
Yeah.
touch the metal to the mouth.
Yeah, it's not a public hose, you know what I mean? There's not
Now,
other
there's
people
at max
snorkeling it.
5 people sharing it, but you know it. You know them. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly. Exactly. I agree though, because we were just like, man, there was really nothing more refreshing than just being outside playing all day and ripping that water hose water, bro. And you're just never patient enough to let the hot stuff get out. You're just
Dude,
like, bro, I need this hydration now.
the same lack of reservation that the average human being has for pizza pockets is the same reservation they have from drinking from a hot hose.
Dude.
You just like,
Yeah.
fuck it. I know this is gonna hurt, but I gotta do it. I gotta
You
send it.
pizza pocket like hot pockets or like pizza rolls?
Oh, pizza rolls. I mean, they're
Yeah.
pizza pockets, right? Is the terminology correct there? Pizza
I
pockets?
think well, like there like I'm when I think pizza pocket, I think hot pocket because of the pocket word. But I'm pretty sure there's other brands that call pizza rolls their pizza pockets. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, pizza rolls, pizza pockets. That's what I meant. I mean, obviously, hot pockets are just the same. I have
Well,
the same amount
but
of
well,
reservation. Yeah,
I
self
see.
control.
I have more self control with the hot pocket than a pizza roll though,
Yeah, I would say so, but it's to
because
me because
the pizza roll, no matter what, sneaks up on you. Like a hot pocket, you cook that thing and you know the middle's going to be a molten hot lava bite.
or still frozen.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I don't
And
understand.
so when you take the first bite out of the corner, you're going to have a pretty good sense of how the rest of the hot pocket's going to go, right?
You
But
gotta you gotta cut that vent hole, son.
yeah,
Let
but
that steam
exactly.
out.
But with a hot or with a pizza roll, sometimes you like bite into just the corner and you're like to see if
Oh,
it's
this
hot
is
and you're like,
safe.
"Oh, hell yeah." And you put that thing in, bro, immediately third-degree burns on the top of your mouth
So
every single time.
dude, this brings me to two things. One is a hack, which I let you in on personally outside of the podcast last week, and I want to reinforce it because it's very important to know moving on with your adult life. The second thing is this. So I'm going to get to that in a minute, but the second thing is this. Um, dude, okay, like everybody knows that like pizza rolls are way better when you bake them,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Significantly better. But you never bake a hot pocket though. That could change the game on a hot pocket. We always just put it
I've
in that little
never
metal sleeve
yeah.
and nuke it.
I never
But
have. You know what? I have one hot pocket left out of a pack that I bought recently. Maybe I'm going to try that tomorrow.
bake that bitch? I bet you it's a game changer. It's still going to be molten lava on
Is
the
there
inside. You got to be prepared.
is there baking instructions on the box for them though?
I don't think
Or do
so,
we
but
just have to
come on,
wing it and just be like, let's just see what
bro.
happens?
Trailblaze, dude. Trailblaze. Okay,
You
that's
know
what I
what?
need you to
I'll
do.
do it and I'll let you know.
Good. So we've got some R&D work going on that. The fun fact that I shared with you last week, which is very true, because we've already talked about plastic plates and microwaving foods. Dude, you can put anything on any plate. I mean, obviously there's going to be chemical leach, so, be prepared for that, but, at this point, I don't think my life's getting any better. Anyway, you can defrost. If you run it on the defrost cycle, it won't melt whatever you have it on. I'm telling you, dude, you can
Oh
put a
yeah.
styrofoam plate with a fucking raw egg on it, and you can defrost that bitch, and it will cook that entire egg without melting the plate.
Yeah. That is
It's a very,
crazy. I
very
never knew that.
important life hack. Very important life hack. If you're in a bind and you've got a microwave and a plastic plate, I don't know what kind of bind you're in, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, it is time for the WWYBD here on this episode. I can go first this time if you want me to.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think for me this is a backseat beer. This is like you're going I don't you're going with your buddies to go do something. Maybe you're going to golf or something. I don't know, but you're in the back seat, and so you bought some of these for the trip, and you're handing them out to everybody except the driver. But
I mean,
yeah, I mean how it goes.
you
But
take some time.
I'm just not sitting here trying to condone drinking and driving. Don't do that. But this is a backseat beer for me. I'm just chilling on the way to. You know what? Actually, we're on the way to a concert. That's what we're going to do.
What's good? You got
Yeah.
tickets to see Aerosmith downtown
Yeah.
Houston? Huh? Anybody?
Yeah.
You guys can look that movie reference up. But yeah, I would agree with that. So for me, very simple. I didn't really have an elaborate one this week, because this one just kind of hit me immediately. This is a ball game at home beer.
Mm.
All you're doing that day is, I like for me, a lot of times I'm like cooking something and I'll watch the ball game, or I'm barbecuing something, I'll watch the ball game, or I got a bunch of other chores going on. No, no, no. This is a situation where it's a day game, probably starting at 3, but all you've done that day is get up and just sit around and do nothing. And you're gonna like, I'm gonna crack a few of these, enjoy the game at 3. We're probably gonna get takeout because I don't feel like cooking. That's what this is to me.
This is
It's
a
just
lazy day.
a lazy at home ball game day. Like you're dedicated to the ball game and you're going to be focused 100% watching it, but you've done nothing before and you plan to do nothing after.
Hmm.
That's how this strikes me.
Yeah. A real proper game day.
I didn't even put the 2 and 2 together on that, but that's a good call out. Yeah, it's a proper pills for a proper experience. Oh, dude, did I tell? Okay, I got to throw this in there because it was freaking hilarious and it kind of fits the theme. Did we talk about what the definition of propaganda was?
No.
It's when a Brit takes a real hard look at something.
Yeah. Yeah,
A
I can
prop
see.
a propaganda.
A propaganda, mate. Oi, bruv.
Yeah, so
Oi.
I thought that was great. And it fits because it's proper. It's a proper pills of propaganda.
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah.
so on to ratings. You want to go first? You want me to?
I'll send it.
Kill it.
For entry, I have this thing at a 3. Comparing it to some of the other pilsners that we've had on the podcast, personally, other ones I've had, it doesn't really enter right for me. Like I said, I didn't really get a lot of skunkiness off the rip.
Yeah.
The aftertaste, I did actually bump the aftertaste up to a 4 from a 3, because the aftertaste does kind of get a little bit of a skunkiness into it, and so I did like that. Body, I've got it a 3 as well. I think we both kind of said it, or maybe you just said it, but it is like a little fruity for a pilsner, so it kind of throws me a little bit. Color, I thought it looked pretty good. I have color at a 5, and I was pretty impressed with how the
Take the head was.
yeah, well, yeah, it was thick, but it also dissipated pretty nicely.
Yeah.
Bitterness, I have it a 4.
Dude.
It could have been a little lower, but I'm kind of trying to factor in the craftiness to the beer, so it's pretty solid. Acidity, I have it a 3 as well.
Dude.
For the same kind of fruitiness type reasons, and then fizz, I have it a 5 because
Dude. So we just made history, but okay, so just to check, you got a 3 on entry. Oh,
no,
we're one off. A 3 on entry, a 4 on aftertaste.
yeah,
What you got a 3 for body,
yes,
a 5 for color, a 4 for
yes,
bitterness, a 3 for acidity, and a 5 for fizz.
yes.
Okay. So
Oh
that
wow,
brings your total to a 27.
yep, I got a
Okay.
27. Uh,
So
I mean, like I was saying, the fizz, the burps were great. Burps came on pretty quick, and they lasted for. I mean, y'all heard me struggling about 10 minutes ago. So.
yeah, I had some struggle pockets too. Um,
Mm,
yeah, dude. So I'm right in the same. Like we're off by 1 point. That's it.
that's
So
wild. That's
I
almost
had a,
back to back weeks.
I had a 3 for entry because again, I think it's middle of the road. I don't get the skunkiness. I don't get, it doesn't scream pilsner to me, but it's good. Aftertaste, I have it a 3, and here's why. When you talk about aftertaste, I'm not like being funny or equating it to this, but like a pilsner, in its skunkiness, it should have like that weed smell, like on somebody's breath
Mm-hmm.
when they smoke weed. Like it should have that as a finish, as an aftertaste, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't quite get it. There's a hint of it there, but not enough to like make my breath stink from it. Okay, and so I don't get enough of it. So I have aftertaste at a 3. Body, same thing, 3. Color, 5. Bitterness, 4. Acidity, 3. Fizz, 5. So I come up with a
Wow.
total of 26. I think this is, even though we've been fairly close within 1 or 2 points, or I think
That's
maybe 2 points is the closest we've ever been. But we've never had the categories align exactly like this. Like you might
right. Yeah.
have our totals might be similar, but you'll have like color at a 3 and I have it at a 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
These are dead nuts except for aftertaste, just because I don't get quite enough of that like skunky weedness finish.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I just think that like for me, it hit a little bit more in the aftertaste than it did in the entry, so I had to bump it up a little bit.
I would agree.
All right, well, we've gotten to that point in the podcast where I'm going to tell you to go follow us on social media on Twitter and TikTok at Off the Tap Pod, and on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Off the Tap Podcast.
In semi-slam poetry form, keeping in mind the 99 Billboard talker. Spindletap, proper art thou, simple, stellar, Spindletap. Inner loop, outer loop, loopity loop, lofty brew loop. Spindletap, how are you? Delicious?